court sentenced the defendant to the maximum period of 10 years fixed in the custody of the Idaho Department of Correction. Then on count 2, that the court sentenced the defendant to fixed life for the murder of Maddie Mogan. On count 3, that the court sentenced the defendant to fixed life for the murder of Kaylee Gonzalez. On count 4,
this is so sad. You can hear the parents crying in the courtroom. The judge's voice cracks up. Oh, this is so hard to watch.
For the murder of Xana Kernodle. On count 5, that the court sentenced the defendant to fixed life for the murder of Ethan Chapin. And the
This
state
whole
further
thing
praised
seems like a
these
complete
sentences
injustice. He should have got the
he
death
ordered
penalty.
to run
He does not
consecutively,
look
back to
remorseful
back,
or
not at
sad
the same
whatsoever.
time, to recognize and respect the unique individuality of each of these beautiful young people whose lives were taken brutally and for no reason.
Look at his face, completely emotionless. It's making my stomach turn watching this.
And hopefully now, as we have heard earlier this morning, it is time to afford the families and the friends and the community and the state of Idaho
If you haven't heard the earlier
and the nation
statements
and
by
the
the
world
family and friends
to
of the
move forward.
victims, you absolutely
We
have
can't
to.
undo,
Some of the
and we
best
can never
victim
undo the
statements
horror
I've ever
of
seen.
what occurred on the early morning hours of November 13th, 2022 at 1122 King Street in Moscow, Idaho. For a long time, the presiding district judge in Latah County was John Stegner, who eventually became a member and a justice of the Idaho Supreme Court. And Justice Stegner often observed that even God cannot change the past. But everyone in this room has the ability to take themselves forward. And we want the judicial system
I love what the judge
to
says in this
afford
case. I
them
felt like he was
the
really
opportunity
insightful and
today
caring.
to do that. After Your Honor imposes judgment and sentences the defendant to spend the rest of his life in prison. In other words, sentence the defendant to die in prison. He's going to stand up in the belly chains and leg irons that he's wearing today. And he's going to be escorted into the custody of the Idaho Department of Correction. And the door will close behind him.
Ooh, this is perfect.
Forever.
I love it. I love it.
That is the closure that we seek, that all of these people, these loving friends and family deserve, so that we can move forward. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Kohlberger, you have an opportunity to make a statement if you wish to. I take it you are declining.
Oh, of course he won't. He won't say anything. He has no accountability, no guilt whatsoever.
All right, let me start this morning by acknowledging and thanking those that have come here today in support of their loved ones, and I appreciate your courage and your strength. And I hope that you are able to move on as best as possible. Thank counsel for the professionalism that they've exhibited throughout this case. It's been my great honor to preside in this case and to help bring, to the extent possible, some resolution and hopefully justice to this case. During the quiet morning hours of November 13, 2022, a faceless coward breached the
He
tranquility
is a coward.
of 6
100% he's
beautiful
a
young
coward.
people and senselessly slaughtered them. 4 of them. Who committed this unspeakable evil was unknown for several weeks, but due to the killer's incompetence and outstanding police work by numerous local, state, and federal law enforcement agencies, the person that slithered through that sliding glass door at 1122 King Road now stands before the world and this court unmasked. This unfathomable and senseless act of evil has caused immeasurable pain and loss. No parent should ever have to bury their child. This is the greatest tragedy that can be inflicted upon a person. Parents who took their children to college in a truck filled with moving boxes had to bring them home in hearses lined with coffins.
Oh my God, this is so
Well, criminal
sad.
behavioralists
Any
should
parent's
study
heart
him
is completely
away from the
dropping right
spotlight
now.
in an attempt
I really
to
feel that
prevent
for their
other
families,
would-be
God
killers
bless
from
them,
acting on their worst
to have
impulses.
peace, all the friends,
There should be no
everyone.
need for that to spill over into the public eye. The great Idaho jurist Edward Lodge was known for trying to find something positive about every person he ever sentenced. And with over a half a century as a trial judge, that was a lot of people. This was often challenging, and I recall in one case he said that the best he could come up with was the defendant had good penmanship. Truth be told, I'm unable to come up with anything redeeming about Mr. Kohberger because his grotesque acts of evil have buried and hidden anything that might have been good or intrinsically human about him. His actions have made him the worst of the worst. Even in pleading guilty, he is giving nothing hinting of remorse or redemption, nothing suggesting even a recognition or understanding, let alone regret for the pain that he has caused. And therefore I will not attempt to speak about him further, other than to simply sentence him so that from civilized
I think that this
society.
was so astute that the judge said this.
Accordingly, based upon his conduct
I
and based
agree.
upon the
Crime
record before
doesn't
this court,
deserve any sort of
recognizing
recognition
the standards
or
that govern
for
this
us to
court's
think about it
sentencing
ever again.
decisions as set forth in State v. Hill, I hereby sentence Mr. Kohberger as follows. On count 1, burglary, 10 years fixed, 0 years indeterminate. I also impose a fine of $50,000. Count 2, first-degree murder of Madison Mogan. I sentence the defendant to a fixed term of life imprisonment without the possibility of parole, a fine of $50,000, and a civil penalty of $5,000 payable to the family of the victim. On count 3, for first-degree murder of Kaylee Gonzalez, I sentence the defendant to a fixed term of life imprisonment without the possibility of parole, a fine of $50,000, and a civil penalty of $5,000 payable to the victim of the family, or to the family of the victim, pardon me. On count 4, for the first-degree murder of Xana Kernodle, I sentence the defendant to a fixed term of life imprisonment without the possibility of parole, a fine of $50,000, and a civil penalty of $5,000 payable to the family of the victim. On count 5, for the first-degree murder of Ethan Chapin, I sentence the defendant to a fixed term of life imprisonment without the possibility of parole, a fine of $50,000, and a civil penalty of $5,000 payable to the family of the victim. The sentences on counts 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 shall run consecutively to one another. Restitution will be left open for 60 days.
I hope all of the families file for the restitution, so if this student starts to make money off a book, it goes to the families, not to him, his family.
I remand the defendant to the custody of the Idaho State Board of Corrections for to be imprisoned in an appropriate facility in execution of the sentence where he will remain until he dies. Though you have waived your right to appeal, you do have a right to file a notice of appeal, and any such appeal must be filed within 42 days of the date of the written judgment, which will be entered shortly hereafter. Though the appeal, you should be aware, may be deemed a violation of the plea agreement, and so I certainly suggest you discuss that with counsel if that is your desire. I ask the media and public present to allow the families to be escorted out first before they leave. Again, Thank you to everyone for your stories today.
My
I am
heart goes
strengthened
out to
by
the
them.
family and
I am
friends of these
encouraged by your
victims. This
humanity
whole
and
thing is so
strength. And God
sad.
bless you.